Once our dark line is in, we're ready for his little speckles. And this is so he just can sit in a dappled glade and just look part of the woodland and not show up too much. So this is just the dappled lighting. Now they go quite regimentally down the back. And try not to make them too much. I'm just rubbing them slightly between my fingers. Because if you put them in, let's show, if you do it into a hard ball like that, so you've got a really solid ball like that, it's really quite dense, and then you pop it in, you're prodding quite a long time. So unless you've got a very, very solid body, it's going to make an indentation. And you're also going to end up with a dot that's very, very precise because you've rolled it. However, if you want a slightly softer look, take slightly less and do just a gentle, it's more like a flat roll. It's more like a rub than an actual roll into a ball. So it's just a circular motion, but it's just keeping it nice and flat, and all you're doing is just gathering it in. Then if you pop it in, as you can see, it's still quite loose. You can shape it slightly. It goes in very easily. You're not having to press very hard, so you're not making an indentation, and you get a slightly softer look. But it's up to you, whichever way you prefer and whichever way you find easiest. And we're just going to do these dots down the back on either side, and then as many as you wish to be dappled as well. You can look at the pictures and think, yes, I'll do all of them, or you might think, actually, I'm not going to do some. Some, in fact, almost go into little stripes there. Can you see they're sort of little dashed lines almost? You can do that as well, or experiment, see which looks best on your deer. You may find that one suits it better than the other, depending on what walls you've used and what finish you've got. But I like to start by going down either side of the backbone first. Then I know just how far out they're going to come. And while we're near the end here, let's pop the tail on as well. So for the tail, you're going to need a nice tuft of wool. Ideally something that's going to have a bit straighter to it. Corriedale will be ideal. Merino works perfectly well as well. And I'm going to pop it down there. And so it's across, slightly tricky this bit, right across his hind. Tuck up the middle there. So right up the middle, and then make the decision whether you want it to be a silker or a fallow. I'm just going to have a hint of the little bit of dark brown in the middle there. So a little pinch of that dark brown, I'm going to add that down that central line. Bring it together. Tapping it on either side, but keeping it loose away from the body. And there we have the tail, and you can train it and trim it to whatever suits the size for your deer. And I'm going to continue now putting on more dots. And we can also put on the cream of the chest here and his tummy. So in order to do that, using the same cream, just pulling it out, making sure it's all flowing nicely. I don't have too many loose ones. You can give them a big ruffle if you like, but since this is quite a young one, it's going to have slightly shorter hair. But I do want to make sure that it looks slightly longer than the rest of the body. So the first tuft I've taken is not overly thick. If I put it on its side, see, it's not overly thick. And this is going to be fitted at the bottom between the two legs there. You could use your light blue or your dark blue needle at this point. Tuck it in really nicely to make sure it's in. You've got this loose. I've cut it off, obviously too long at first. Then go up a piece and tuck it in again. So all will become clear in a minute why I cut it and left it too long, hopefully. So I'm tucking in the next bit, slightly higher up, slightly closer to his chin. Her chin! Come on, you're a she. Again, trim it off, being obviously too long. And work your way up until you've got right under the chin, and depending on if your colour is similar there or not, you can cover that as well. So another one in here, tucked right under the chin. If you have a rooting needle or a forked needle, you can use one at this time as well. They have the advantage of just pushing the wool in singly from the end, as opposed to gathering any wool around them as they go in, which can be useful for doing this sort of thing, but not essential. Okay, so I have now ones that I've trimmed there. I've got a gap. Do I make one more? Or is that going to be enough? I've got a gap there. I'm going to see that gap that I've got. I'm going to fill that in too. So take another little tuft like that, pop it in that gap. And fix it in. So at the moment it's going to look like a very rugged reindeer. But she's going to have a trim. And return to her dainty state. She will be pleased to hear, won't you? Hopefully. Okay, so there we go. So now we have, hopefully, a little bit more of a fuller front. Let's trim those off too. So they've been trimmed off, but they're trimmed off and they're too long, and she's looking very rugged. So what we're going to do, the reason why I didn't want us cutting it short every time across, going horizontally across, is because then you get streaks of the different wool obviously being cut. What we want to do is cut as though we're going vertically from the hooves up to the nose. So not all in one go. Let's probably take 3 trims at this. Take off your first bit. And again, and just gradually take it back to where you want. At this point you can really use it to shape her front. And then when you're happy, tame it, comb it gently with your needle, comb it down and out at the sides. So you've got a nice feathered effect at the sides and down and between those legs a little bit. And then we can do the other undertum next. So for the undertum, it's not going to be quite so pure cream as the front. I'm going to blend with it some of the browns, but the cream is going to be the main character, the main characteristic of it. So whatever the colours you've got to hand that you want to use that would tie in nicely with your body. I've got this sort of honey colour here, but as I say, the main colour is going to be the cream. If you've got two wools that are the similar staple length, similar fibre length, that's going to make the job easier for you. I haven't chosen the easy way today. I've got one that's crimped and one that is smooth. So it's going to take me a little longer just to blend them nicely. And I'm going to need a little bit more of this cream. If you have white, I would suggest possibly toning it down a bit with a bit of pale yellow or apricot. Bright white is quite rare to find, and it can be a little bit on the glary side. So if you can tone it down a bit, that's wonderful. So there we are. We've got, as you can see, it's definitely paler than the main body, but it's not bright white. And because this is white underneath, I don't need to put on a thick layer. It's just going to be a covering layer, and it's going to go up and join the white where I was coming down with the front bib there. So that is, the colours can nicely mould into each other. And take it back. Keeping it nice and light with a very slight overlay over the brown. Until your tummy's nicely covered. Once you've covered your tum, you may find that even if you've tried to bring the white over in a very pale and thin layer over your brown, you're still getting quite a dividing line. So all you do then is take a little bit of your brown, as you can see, just a very thin amount, and you put it over the brown and the white. Until you're disguising the change. You may have to do 1 or 2 layers of that, but just do it in very small little steps until you feel that it's a bit like sand going down to the sea. 1 minute you're in the water, before you know it. There we are. So all you've done is you just sort of softened it again. So I'm going to finish my dapples on her back, and then she'll be ready to go. And I'm going to then think about possibly moving her face so she's facing forward and making sure that her feet make her stand up. I've been checking, as you do as you go along, just to make sure that she'll stand up, but before you do your final firming action, make sure you get them standing up in the action and the position that you really want them, and then you can, because they've still got a little bit of malleability there for you. So as you can see, I can still, if you hold it in place and tuck like that, you could make the body just change, be slightly curved. The head to look back like that can be quite nice, or down at something on the ground. And there you have your deer ready to go. I hope you've really enjoyed making her. I'm just going to finish my dapples and then pop some pictures up. So the idea for this deer was that you can use it as a festive display because she can sit in the snow. So there's another option where you can have her sitting down, and I've done some drawings of that. So if you don't want to do the legs, if maybe you don't have the time to make the legs, or you're slightly a beginner with felting and this is your first one of your first earlier forays, then just do the body. You can just do the body part and have her sitting in some snow or among the grass. But being a deer, we can have her up all year round. It doesn't have to be just a winter display. So look out for some pictures in the next little bit for some ideas on how else to do your deer. I hope you've enjoyed making her with me today. If you're not a member of the club, then think about Liberty's Feltery Club. Go to libertiesfeltery.com and you'll find everything there, or you can message me. And our Facebook group is Raising the Bar. So Liberty's Feltery, Raising the Bar, and that's free for anybody to join. And please post pictures of what you're making, any questions that you might have for obtaining wool or information on kits and that sort of thing. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.